Hey, True Crime Grapevine fans. Hi, it's me, Patty Lee. How y'all doing? This is the True Crime Grapevine Live. It is our nightly nightcap. God, I'm still figuring out the lighting. I look a little bit like I've got some like halo here. Not warranted. Okay. Um, I uploaded a preload spotlight case for Athena Brownfield that we're going to talk a little bit about now. Anyways, I also at I think 11 o'clock there's another upload, more details about the chit chatter and my theories on the Idaho 4 case that is going to go live publicly. I think that's available at 10, so right after we're done here. Anyways, here we go. What do I have to drink today? Okay, so I have in my little Moscow Mule cup, it's just 7 Up with vodka. Yeah, that's right. A little iced, what's it called? Iced cake vodka? Let's see. There's a very little bit. I think I'll just drop it right in here. Yeah, iced cake, flavored vodka. I don't know, is that, how much is that? It's probably enough to give me a headache. Let's see. Let's little nightcap. It smells good. All right. So let's just stir that. I don't have swizzle sticks, but you know what I do have? A pen. All right. Okay. And here's to Athena Brownfield and her family. Whoa, is this story crazy? Also, I have some updates on, if you remember another story from Oklahoma, there were 4 guys who were found like decapitated and dismembered in a river. And then it was a salvage guy. I have some updates on that. And I looked up the updates. I thought it was Oklahoma, but it was Missouri near Kansas City. It was Excelsior Springs this past October, the guy who had the girl in the dungeon and she got out. Yeah, I've got updates on that too. Okay. Because I know everybody's still online just talking about the Idaho 4, but there's not a lot to talk about that because, we're in that weird in between phase where the defense is getting together all their stuff and there's a gag order. So we don't know much. Hi. Did I say hi? I'm Patty Lee. True crime armchair dyslexic armchair detective here on the True Crime Grapevine. I watch all true crime all the time. There was actually not enough time and too much crime to upload just once a week. So my new schedule is going to be lives around 9 p.m. every weeknight, Monday through Friday. And then on Saturday and Sunday, I will try to tape for like roundup the for the Sunday Scary upload, which is all the cases that I talked about the previous week, and then maybe some spotlight cases of those roundups, just so there's more uploads. I don't know if that'll work. Hopefully that gives everybody enough information and it's short enough to listen to without being too annoying, but long enough that you can get like a job done. All right, maybe that will help. What are we going to talk about tonight besides Idaho? We're going to talk about the Athena Brownfield case. So I just did an upload about that case, but there's even more that's come out. So Athena Brownfield is a 4-year-old little girl. She was living with a relative. That is who were their caregivers. And for a while, this happened. It started last Tuesday. And just today, Monday, they've changed it from looking for her to a recovery. And they're actually looking at a pond in a nearby county that the husband of her relative, who she was living in their house. So she lived with I think it's a first cousin, her mom's first cousin. So it would really be Athena's second cousin, was taking care of her and her sister. It sounded like the mom and dad, bio mom and dad, had some problems, right? Some issues getting their lives together, needed family to help out. And it sounds like Alyssa Adams and her now estranged husband, Ivan Adams. So yeah, the Adams family. Should we drink based on that? Let's have a drink. The Adams Family. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah. So, so what we now know is that they're no longer looking for her alive because it's been over a week. They actually think that this little girl was left alone or something happened around January 6th. She was last seen alive on the 5th by neighbors. After that, we don't know what happened. We do know that the relative, Alyssa Adams, was supposed to be taking care of her, and instead, and she has 4 kids too, apparently. And she's a TikTok influencer, which I mean, she has 2,000 followers. Not to brag, but I have over that on Twitter. Um, and by that, that means that that's not a big deal. Um, so I don't think she's a big deal on TikTok, but she did a lot of lip syncing to things to be funny. I mean, she's attractive enough. I mean, I'm sure she had followers, and she had her kids, I guess, in some of them they would say, and or at least in some of her social media, maybe not the TikToks, but you never saw Alyssa or her sister, the 5-year-old who was actually found alive. Thank goodness, Adina. You didn't see them. And it's come out that she and, even though they're estranged now, her husband, Ivan, spelled Ivon, Adams, had the custody of the kids for over a year. So think about that. It's kind of like the wicked step cousin, I guess she'd be. So she put her kids all over the place and, 4 kids, and she's such a great mom. But you never saw the 2 little uh, second cousins that she had custody of, which is kind of sad. Also, we're learning that Athena was maybe small for her age because at first they thought she was 3, or maybe she just had a birthday, but she is 4. She's supposed to be very shy, but also limited communication skills. So at 4, limited communication skills, speaks more like a toddler, sounds a little bit like she could have been on the spectrum. And we do know kids who have disabilities are at more risk for abuse. It's a correlation. I mean, they can't say it's causated, but it's a correlation. You can decide for yourself why that might be, but it is correlated. Now, Ivan was arrested in Arizona. Ivan was arrested for homicide. And his arrest published data that was like put up for everybody to see not only said that he was arrested for I don't know if it's a child abuse and first-degree murder of a child, but that we also learned he used to be in the Marine Corps. We learned that he does, I guess he does want to come back. He's going to fight the charges. But we learned that the information, there was a third party, which I assume is the post officer. They didn't say mail person, maybe because we say mailmen and you're not allowed to say mailman anymore. But it was a postal service person, so like a mail person, was the one who found her sister wandering Tuesday at 2 p.m. Now remember, I just told you nobody's seen her little sister. That was Adina, who was 5, and she was hungry. And apparently she said, they left me. They left me. Okay, there were 2 parents and 4 kids in this house with her and her sister. Nobody saw anybody at home after Thursday. Mom, Alyssa, mom to the 4 kids, but the first cousin, second cousin to the 2 little girls, the relative taking care of them, she posted social media on the 7th and 8th, so Saturday and Sunday, that she with her boyfriend. So they call her husband estranged. We don't know when the estranged husband took off for Arizona, but we do know that something on his phone implicated him in a murder. If he unalived her, I don't know. We only know that that we found out about her disappearance because of a third party, which I believe was the postal service worker who found her sister, and her sister said, I can't find Athena. And we know that when they arrested him, something on his phone led them then to charge him with first degree murder. We don't know what he kept on his phone. And I'm not going to tell you. I mean, if you do a crime and you film it, but we've heard this. We've heard this. In fact, another case that there's a preliminary hearing maybe for Sarah Boone tomorrow on January 17th. She's the woman I talked about on a live previously, whose court date is supposed to start on January 30th in Winter Park, Florida, who unalived her boyfriend by asking, like they were both drinking a lot. And apparently she said, let's play hide and seek, and got him to get into a zippered luggage. And then she filmed him wiggling around saying, I can't breathe, and recorded herself telling him, that's how I feel when you cheat on me. That's how I feel when you choke me. Like, and then I think she told him like he could shut the fuck up. And she went upstairs apparently and fell asleep, woke up the next morning after having slept it off around 11 a.m. as one does. And then that's when she found, shockingly, not, I mean, I'm being facetious, that he was no longer alive. So that's that. Anyway, so did Ivan, and I'm going to call him Ivan the Terrible, right? Did he do something similar regarding Athena? I mean, I don't know. He did something was on his phone, and now the before it was getting dark outside in Oklahoma, there's been a number of like sheriff vehicles, and it looks like crime scene trucks around this retention pond. And they said that Ivan had some ties to that area, like to that pond. So that property. Did he do something with her there? I guess we'll find out, but it's looking like that might be where we find Athena. So really, really sad. I can't imagine how the biological parents feel that, or it's similar to JJ, right? The parent had a drug addiction, was trying to get over it. She allowed her, I think it was her cousin, right, to adopt JJ and his wife. And then 9 years later, JJ was murdered by them. Not obviously not by Charles Ballo, because he was murdered by Lori, or Lori's brother, allegedly, we'll say. I mean, we all think that Lori had something to do with it, but that is just what we think. That is not, we can't say for sure. We can just guess. Sorry, I had something in my eye there. I better have a drink. All right, so that is what everybody's talking about. They wanted to know how how the two girls were related, and when exactly Athena went missing. So it seems like something bad happened Thursday late. And then the two parents took off to different ways. I don't know if the mom was seeing her boyfriend, not the mom of Athena, but the mom in that household, her cousin, Alyssa. Was she planning on going to Kansas City with her boyfriend? And her estranged husband was like, you know what? I'm not going to deal with this. I don't have to babysit these kids. And something happened. And then he did something with the body and then left the sister alone. That 5-year-old had to be in that house at least Friday night, probably, if not all Saturday, asking people for food because she was hungry and saying they left me. The other weird thing is we don't know where Alyssa and Ivan's 4 kids are. So we know Alyssa is in the county jail there. We know Ivan was arrested. He's got a $1 million cash bond in Phoenix, and he's not fighting extradition. So he'll be brought back to Oklahoma within 30 days. But can you imagine being a 5-year-old, not knowing where your baby sister is, and then also being left all alone in a house to the point where eventually you wander outside and you're crying and asking for food. And they said she was wandering the neighborhood, but neighbors didn't help her, which is weird because neighbors were on a show saying how they saw a tricycle in the middle of the road and wondered what that was about. And then they said this was so horrible. But I'm like, but you didn't see that 5-year-old? Like they said she was crying, going house to house, but the person that helped her was the postal service person. So I don't know what the community's like. I don't know why it took a postal worker at 2 p.m. in the afternoon to help her. I don't really know what was going on with her. But it appears like she was all alone. So where were the other 4 kids? I mean, did the step cousin monster just take her children that she loved to a babysitter and like just act like the other 2 didn't exist? And they had custody for them for a year, which makes me really wonder what the heck was going on. But I guess we'll find out. Ivan on the record said he wants to come back to Oklahoma and he's gonna like clear his good name. Okay. Again, he is. I mean, we don't know, right? It could be all Alyssa. It could have been aliens. I guess we'll see. It doesn't look good for any of them. I'm really interested to know when Ivan went to Arizona because it is 14 hours. Like, did he take off Thursday night? Did he take off Friday morning? Did he take off Friday night? Did Alyssa think she was leaving Ivan in charge of at least 2 girls? Like, it's going to be very interesting to see what Alyssa's story is versus Ivan's story, because we know this is what it's going to go like, right? And unfortunately, then without a lot of forensics, we don't know who was the person in charge, and it's dangerous because if they have 2 separate juries, each one of them could make a convincing case it was the other person, or at least there's reasonable doubt. And that's kind of what we're worried about the Chad and Lori Vallow case. Is the reason you don't want to charge them and have their separate trials is because they blame the other person who's not there, and then they both could get off blaming the other person, so nobody goes to jail, and that is very dangerous. That's why there is no update on the Larry Miliete hearing that's going on about his wife whose body is still missing. But they seem to have a lot of good evidence. I think it will be bound over for trial. I hope they find her. The other Oklahoma case, sorry, I keep kicking this. I've got my feet up on this thing. In case you don't know, there was a case in Oklahoma in October of 2022. 4 dismembered bodies found in the Deep Fork River in Oklahoma. They didn't identify them at first. They were like, were riding bikes. They were allegedly going to commit a crime. The reason we know this is because a 5th friend was invited along, and they said, like, this is going to be a really good, I think they said a big lick, which means we're going to make a lot of money doing this crime. And the 5th person, thank goodness, said like he wasn't into it. The 4 people, hello. Oh, it's Suzanne. Suzanne, aren't you the one that told me about the look, I'm going to show you the peach crown, right? Do you remember telling me to get peach? Look what I got. See, I drank it the other night. I have to be careful because I'm drinking vodka tonight. But this week I'll be having another peach drink. Yeah, and you were right. Very tasty. And I also got the apple to try based on your recommendation. And I got the vanilla, but I still can't open the vanilla. See how tiny that is? So this week I'll be trying my flavored whiskeys. But tonight I'm just drinking 7-Up with iced cake vodka in it. It's kind of sweet. And it's got 2 little, I put in some Martino sherries and juice. So here's to our poor little Athena Brownfield and her sister. That sister's going to have to live with that whole memory. 5, you are old enough to make memories, especially memories are made. Um, if you have a strong feeling, a memory gets set down. That's why most of your earliest memories they're usually called flashbulb memories. They're usually just a picture, sort of, not like a full memory, but it's of something like either very happy or very scary, um, or you were very angry, or you were hurt, like physically hurt, like of an injury. So this little girl's first memory is probably going to be wandering that neighborhood looking for her sister, starving and being left all alone in the dark in winter for at least 3 or 4 nights. Jesus. Unbelievable. Um, okay, so I was telling you guys though about before I said hi to Suzanne. Yeah, the vanilla Suzanne said is great with coffee. That's tomorrow night. So I'm gonna just in case Suzanne cares. Every night now, I'm going to go live at 9ish Eastern Standard Time because I think it might work out for better. Plus, I was getting all turned around. I was almost on like Hawaii time, or what's next, Samoan Island time. I was getting backed up by getting up and podcasting, going to work at until midnight. So I'm going to try to do it every night at 9, Monday through Fridays, and then on the weekends I'll podcast on Saturdays. I'll go live if something dramatic happens, but I mean, I'm going to do some recorded podcasts on the weekends that will upload on Sunday, and then maybe some little cases spotlighted throughout the week uploads, if that makes sense. All right. Anyways, so back to these. If you weren't paying attention in October about about like dismembered people in the river in Oklahoma, we found out that the 4 men had gone to maybe do some sort of crime, because we only know that because there was a 5th person that was invited that did not go. And the big thing was, at first we were not clear. They were in their 20s, but it was reported they were on bikes, and everybody's like, what? So these were gentlemen who were not rich. I mean, and they were marginalized part of society. And whether we like it or not, throughout history, we've had marginalized people on the edges of society, economically kept out for one reason or the other. I mean, sometimes you commit a crime when you're young, and then you're considered, a risk, and nobody else wants to hire you. And then what else are you going to do for money? You go into the marginalized work of whatever on the outskirts of regular society, polite society. And it exists because polite society wants whatever that is, unfortunately. So these men were, it looks like, selling scrap metal or going into salvage yards, probably to get like catalytic converters out of junk, things that you can sell. We know it's not great for people to steal your things. We also know, though, if someone's stealing from you, and I'm not talking about coming into your house. I mean, like when people are stealing, like your car, like typically it used to be, it's it used to be, it's changing a little bit, but which I will. You don't just shoot people on sight. That's called justice, meaning it's outside of a regular court. We don't want people just deciding you die because you got into my stuff. That's really not best for all of society, because what if you make an oops, right? Oh, that person wasn't doing that. Oh, sorry, my bad, but they're dead. See so that leads to bad things, right? So this at the time, there were just these dismembered people in a river. What we now know, because we didn't know at the time that somebody was a third party telling somebody else, a woman was dating the salvage yard owner, Mr. Kennedy. He was 67. He is 67 now. Her daughter, her grown-up daughter, probably somebody not younger than myself, was talking to her mom, and her mom said, yeah, like my boyfriend, he said that these guys were breaking in to his salvage yard and he shot them. And then she goes on to tell her, not only that, but he killed them. And got rid of their bodies. Okay. So everybody in the area knew about the dismembered bodies. This woman, A, put two and two together, B, did the right thing, which is once you know about a crime, you better tell the police because otherwise you become a co-conspirator. And in most states, if it's murder, you just bought yourself a one-way ticket to death row along with whoever actually did the crime. So if someone makes the mistake of telling you they killed somebody, get them a really good lawyer and then get to the police if you don't want to go down with them. It's really scary and it's really hard, I'm sure, if it's somebody you love. But this woman, it was her mom's boyfriend, and she's probably like, F that. Let's get him in, like he's going down. So he immediately, I mean, this happened on October 10th. He stole a car, got to Florida, Daytona Beach, was caught there with a stolen vehicle, as well as then was charged with these murders. So, why do I bring this up now? So the victims, let's just make sure everybody, Joseph L. Kennedy is who was charged with um, a premeditated killing. He was 67, or he is 67. The four people he killed: Mark Chastain, Billy Chastain. Mark was 32, Billy was 30. Mike Sparks and Alex Stevens, 32 and 29. And the DA said, look, being a thief doesn't get you the death penalty. And it shouldn't, right? He is going to be going up for his pretrial. Let's see, when is his pretrial meeting? I know I wrote it down. I hope I wrote it down. I am assuming it must be soon because I was talking about it. Where in the heck did I write that, you guys? All right. Well, I will find out when he's going. It just says that the court documents indicated that the daughter of the woman dating Mr. Kennedy told investigators that he came to her mother's house on October 10th. Oh, that's right. This was in the New York Times, written December 6th, I believe. So we are going to be seeing him come up for his preliminary hearing unless, he waives it. The big thing about his background was he was on a felony probation for what? Oh, for shooting a person in his salvage yard in 2012. So the guy obviously, instead of this time saying these people broke in and I shot him, since he was already on felony probation, this time he decided he'd dismember them to get rid of their bodies and maybe nobody would notice dismembered parts floating in the river. Smart. So Mr. Kennedy, 67, will probably spend the rest of his life in jail, I am assuming. So why did I look into that? I was thinking about Oklahoma because of the cute little girl case. Oh, hi, Jam. Nice to see you too. Hopefully 9 o'clock works better for everybody. And if you are listening, if you have any questions or comments, put them in the chat because there's not very many of us and we can chat about it. I really want to know what you guys think about the that little girl and the Athena Brownfield case. And how did the mom end up on a date with her boyfriend in Kansas City, and her ex-husband, well, her estranged husband, ended up running away to Phoenix, Arizona, and where were their four kids, but they left the 5-year-old alone all by herself. Did they leave the 4-year-old with her, or did the 4-year-old, did they all run away once something bad happened and left that little 5-year-old by herself? I just can't believe that. Where did this happen? What state? If you mean the little girl, Suzanne, are you talking about Athena Brownfield? It happened in Cyril, Oklahoma. That's what reminded me to look up it happened in Cyril, Oklahoma, which I believe is a couple hours southwest of Oklahoma City, or at least an hour southwest. It's a town with 990 people in it, pretty small. So, and the person, they kept calling the people who got arrested kickers, the Adams family. Dun-dun-dun-dun. See, that's really bad. I can't help it. But yeah, so it was in Oklahoma, in Cyril, Oklahoma. And I'm not saying it right. Cereal, I believe, like it's cereal, but it's spelled like Cyril. And I think it's something Caribou County that she's in. My dyslexia. It's going to be really close to that. Something with boo in it and something with CA, like Caribou um, County, which I believe Cyril is in that county. And right now they're looking at a retention pond that I keep wanting to call her Ashley. Her name is, we know her name, the mom who had custody of her cousin's children is named Alyssa. Alyssa is related to the 4 and 5-year-old. They found the 5-year-old Tuesday. A postal worker found her. They could not find the 4-year-old. They've been looking for her everywhere. She's not really verbal. She's very shy. She may be on the spectrum. Not that that would matter, but the whole community's looked everywhere and can't find her. They think something on his phone led him to be charged with first-degree murder, but he was in Phoenix, Arizona when he was charged. So he ran away at some point. And everything seems to have happened around Thursday of the week prior to, so it's like 2 weeks ago, Thursday. Is that right? What is today? Today is the 16th. So Thursday, January 5th, I believe, or 4th, is when something went down. They had a house with 2 grown-ups and 4 kids, and by Tuesday, the next day, the postal worker could find nobody at the house that the little girl belonged to. Nobody was there. No grown-ups, and the 4 kids that lived there, not there. And then the little girl was crying, not only saying she was hungry, she said, they left me, and I can't, and she couldn't find her sister. So that child is going to be scarred for the rest of her life. And Ivan wants to come back and clear his name. Okay, Ivan. Ivan spelled with an O. Ivan, I think it might have been Ivan something like, but it might be Daniel's Adams the third. So let's see if he can come back and do something to clear his name, because I'm thinking he has no idea how easy it is for people to find out when you unalived somebody. That's what I'm thinking. The other case I checked up on, you guys, that I thought was Oklahoma, but it wasn't Oklahoma. It was Excelsior Springs, Missouri. Do we remember this story about Excelsior Springs, Missouri? Speaking of marginalized people and how easy it is to, when people do something to people, that sounds, I'm being so YouTube politically correct. All right. We know a lot of serial killers kill prostitutes. Oh, sorry, sex workers. We know that sex workers are marginalized and are often victims for bad people, because they're already a marginalized part of society. Lots of times they've lost contact with their family. And unfortunately, they're only valued by their peers because people have decided what they do makes them less of a human, which we know. I am sure if you're listening to me, you would agree that that is not true, right? I mean, look at stockbrokers and the people who ruined our economy in 2008. They're a lot worse. What they do is a lot less ethical and a lot more harmful to everybody than any sex worker, if you ask me, 100%. So, I mean, there's a lot of people in government that are a lot more harmful than any sex worker has ever been. So, but they're often victims because people consider them throwaways. Awful. There was a man in Excelsior Springs, which is a small city, and I believe southeast of Kansas City, Missouri, where a woman on October, what was it? Early October of this year, she was running down the street in his neighborhood screaming for help. She was dressed scantily. She had chains around her, and only one article could I find mentioned that she happened to be a woman of color. She was black. And I don't think the neighborhood was. What was reported was that this woman was scantily clad, had jeans on her, and people were afraid to open the door. Now, knowing that she was also a woman of color, I'm sure people were like, they didn't know what was going on, and they didn't help her except for this one woman who was babysitting for her granddaughter. Felt like God put her in the right place. Thank goodness. She opened the door, and the woman said, "He's going to kill me. I just escaped. He was taking his son to school." And she described this guy who turned out to be a neighbor down the street called Timothy Hazlitt Jr., who was arrested. And they found a dungeon in his house where he kept her. He had her for months. He had picked, at the time, there was a community activist from Kansas City talking about Prospect Avenue to have sex workers. The interesting thing now, knowing that she's a woman of color, she was 23 years old. She was saying that he had other, like her other friends didn't make it, is what she was crying about. Now, we haven't heard about other bodies found in that house. He has been charged with, let's see what his counts are. I think he's charged with, let's see what his counts are. I think his counts are all just related to her. First degree rape, first degree kidnapping, second degree assault. But did he have other people? There were a bunch of big blue, like those big blue vats, barrels that they took out of his basement. We don't know if he unalived anybody else. Now, there seems to be an issue in Kansas City with racism, like many places. When the police were first contacted and people were talking about this case back in October, they were mentioning that the community activists specifically mentioned, they were saying, well, nobody's been reported to us, but to report missing to the police, these are marginalized people, these are sex workers. And the police have to say that they're missing. And I think that was a catch-22. Basically, they would report a sex worker missing, and the police would be like, well, she's a sex worker. How do we know she didn't just move on? We can't say she's missing. Because I think also there's something about a permanent address needed for the person to show that they were no longer at the permanent address. And since many of these girls were transients, so it's kind of a way for, it could be, allegedly, in my opinion, a way for police not to have to look too hard. And maybe they have, it. And to be realistic, it is difficult to find people. They do move on. But this community activist was saying there were a number of girls going missing. And I think a serial killer had been active with young boy sex workers previously, and it was ignored for a long time. So, and if you watch any Netflix series, there's many people where serial killers are working and they choose to unalive sex workers. And it goes on for a while because nobody really notices or cares besides the other sex workers, but nobody listens to them because they're sex workers. Frustrating, right? And everybody would say, well, then just, how do you protect yourself? What can we learn from this? Don't become a sex worker. But it's not, I don't think it's as easy as that, because lots of people, I mean, how do you know? Like a lot of these people, when you hear their backstories, they were living with relatives because their parents gave them to relatives and the relatives hurt them. And then they were abused there. I mean, it is a lot more involved, I think, than most people who live comfortable, regular lives would ever imagine. So it's easy to judge. But there are at least 2 other girls that are missing from that same area, both women of color. One is named Serena Truitt. Her stepsister has reported her missing, but she says she was on Prospect Avenue. They say there are other victims. Another KC local, Joanne Stovall, told the KC Beacon that her 25-year-old granddaughter Simone Jackson went missing nearly 2 years ago. Now, was Timothy Hazlitt involved? We don't know. His latest court thing was pushed back. He's fighting about keeping visitation for his son, the son that he was allegedly taking to school when this woman was able to escape. So February 24th is his next time in court, and I will tell you all about it because I think there is more to this story. And it's weird. I remember us all talking about it a lot in October, and then it disappeared. So that's why I looked it up. I looked it up because I thought it was Oklahoma. And anyways, it wasn't. So moving on. Are we ready to move on? Do we want to move on to the Idaho 4 case? Are we sick of it yet? Suzanne, Jan, are you guys sick of it yet? Let me know while I take a drink. I did a little spotlight that will be up any minute at 10 o'clock about my thoughts on some of the chitter chatter. But one thing that people are still talking about is was perhaps, if he is the actual killer, Brian Kohlberger, was he an incel? So incels, in case you don't know, are they are celibate, but they don't want to be. They're involuntarily celibate. And here's the thing, though. We don't label them. We don't look at somebody and say, oh, he's an incel. Because see how he's not dating anybody and he seems desperate? That's not an incel. So an incel actually is somebody who joins this movement and they declare themselves in incel. They do what's called, they black pill themselves. And it's kind of like the red pill, blue pill from the Matrix, where the red pill was you face the truth of what reality is. But the black pill is they face their reality, which is women will never love them. They're never going to have sex. And they also buy into a philosophy. And this philosophy was started by the father of incel movement called Elliot Rogers. And it's really strange because he killed other people, then he killed himself when he was 22, which means his brain wasn't even formed. But his, I haven't seen large, like full length photos of him. If there was something like, he was cute. So, like, dude, it was probably your attitude turning people off, but it's very strange that he felt he was so, like, he would never get women. He was, women didn't like him. I'm like, well, he was very good looking, beautiful dark eyes, beautiful dark hair, beautiful lips. I mean, seriously, obviously it must have been his attitude turning off women. And if you are a male and you feel that women don't like you, it's not your looks. It is your attitude. If you are kind and thoughtful, respectful, not a doormat. Not a doormat. And if a girl says no to you, move on to the next one. It's kind of like anything else. It's like getting a job. You got to like try to get a lot of them before you even get one of them. But I am telling you, it's not just looks, and it's not just you don't make enough money, because there are a lot of very poor, ugly men who have women. It's an attitude. And if you're angry at women and act like you deserve sex just because you're a man and she's a woman, yeah, those being a Stone Age man ain't gonna work for you. And it's a you problem, not because you're ugly. It's an attitude problem. And you can change attitudes, but you probably have to change your core belief about women. So, and that's the philosophy, you guys. An incel's core philosophy is that women, like, basically are put on earth to have sex with men, and they deserve to have sex with one, and they're pissed off that they can't. And they see the idealized form of women as kind of like a hoe, in my idea. They call them Stacy's, but they describe them as like bleach blonde, long haired, big boobed, dressing scantily on the internet, sleeping with men just for money. And I'm like, whoa. I think you're talking maybe about the Kardashians, except for the blonde hair part, but still, I mean, it's a weird idealized form. Hey, Kate the Great. So is Brian an incel? Okay, well, Brian, incels also are vocal. They want you to know. I'm an incel, you're a bitch, I hate you, I hate everybody. And if they commit a crime, they're like, and this is why I committed it. I'm committing it because of you, women. I mean, it's that misogynistic, okay? Brian is more of what you would think an incel should be, which is horrible, right? It's us saying, "Oh, he's obviously an incel. Did you see what he looked like? He's so gangly. He's so awkward. Ew." I mean, no offense. Talking that sounds like a Stacy, right? Talking, or maybe what they call a Becky. A Becky is a who she's she doesn't dress like a whore. She dresses more preppy, but she's a feminist. That's Becky, and she has dark hair, worn on a top knot, and is a feminist. Like, and oh, what else did they say? It's such a ridiculous, like, it's obviously a philosophy based on not knowing real women and being out of touch, I would say. And I don't see Brian Kohlberger as that. He had two sisters, one who was a therapist, a mom who worked in the schools. He had an intact family. I mean, I think he was, if it is him, allegedly, right? He's a serial killer. That's what it sounds like. So, but him being like socially awkward and like everybody's like, yeah, he's an incel, or he just wanted to kill people. That's what people don't get. And you know why they don't get it? It's easier to believe he wanted to kill. He felt that these girls didn't like him and blah, blah, blah. Nobody wants to consider the fact he killed them because he wanted to make a good kill. He wanted to know what it was like to take a human life. And something about these people spoke to him, but it could just be, oh, I'm attracted to this one and they meet my criteria, which personally, I told you, I think it might be the Otero family was BTK's first kill when he was about the same age. He was also in school. Brian studied all about BTK. He killed 4 people and left a dog alive. And I kind of feel like Brian was the same way. That was his fantasy, to be like BTK, to get that power. Was he an incel? Not what he did not claim. Now, the incels want him to be one. And all the people learning about this new incel, like to them, it's new. And they're like, oh, he must be an incel because he's unattractive and didn't have a girlfriend. That is not, we don't to term somebody an incel because they're unattractive and awkward with girls. If you're a virgin at 28, that doesn't make you an incel. You have to hold that philosophy and you claim it. I'm an incel. We don't call, like, it's not a name that you give people. And that just shows how most people don't understand the incel movement and what it is versus regular people looking for a few characteristics, which is what we do. When we first learn about something, we do a broad brushstroke and then we go, oh, it's like this. And so thinking awkward social, never had a girlfriend, these were really cute girls. And by the way, I just want everybody to understand they were cute girls, but there are lots of very good looking girls all over the place. So I think there was something more just than these girls. I really think he, you'll see in my upload, but I'm still caught on the fact that Xana's door was broken the week before, that her dad had to come fix it. Xana's sister went to and worked, and she was a senior in marketing and very active in a number of things at WSU. I think Brian saw Xana. If he is allegedly, if it's him, just allegedly, I would think that was the connection. And I think watching her on social media, the fact the fact that he could act out his fantasy of a BTK like first big kill. And we're still not talking about that little dog. That little dog was killed between Pullman and Moscow, really close to him. 100. I think he did the little dog. Anybody else think he did the little dog? Put it in the comments. Let me know. Anybody in chat? Did he kill the dog? I think there is a very good chance that he developed this fantasy. He was stuck on these. I think he was going to do it January 15th, which would have been the past Sunday. And I think he was visiting on Sundays because Sunday was the day I don't know if it was a Sunday, but no, it wasn't. But BTK, I'm trying to think. It was, the kids were off for school the day, some of the Otero children. But that date of the Otero murder was January 15th, which would be a Sunday. It would have been last Sunday. Was Brian waiting to do that? And then Kaylee, who had the dog, that makes it part of the Otero like homage because BTK didn't kill the dog Lucky. Was he not going to kill Murphy because it was similar? But if Kaylee took Murphy when she left, then he couldn't, even if there were 4 girls left in that house, it wasn't the same. And a lot of the serial killers explain, and how did I learn? The last one I saw was Dr. Ramsland's Netflix show. Go watch that Netflix show about BTK that she produced. It came out in 2021. It's on Netflix right now. And you will be shocked at the similarities. I want to know, we'll really know that it was homage if he did anything with the temperature. Like, did he turn up the house really high? Because that's what BTK did. There were a couple of other things. I'm just saying, I wonder. And that's what I think about that. Yeah, so I don't think he's, I think he's, again, does he meet the criteria of being incelibate because he was a weirdo that nobody wanted to sleep with and he seemed awkward with girls? Okay. But like I said, the general public doesn't go, oh, you're awkward with girls. I hear you're a virgin. You're an incel. That's just basically, nobody wants to sleep with you. That's not what an incel is. Incels call themselves incels by black pilling themselves and just realizing it's never going to happen for me. And by the way, it doesn't help us to do that to somebody, because if they're going to, incels tend to be the ones that have made the news were violent and did it and had manifestos. Like Elliot Rodgers said, he made a whole thing. This is why I'm doing it. I'm doing it because of this. So let's not tell people they're incels. We don't need more of that going on. Let's just promote the idea that, look, you've got an attitude about women that's turning them off. It's not your looks and it's not anything else. It's how you're treating women. And, it's like Mary had a little lamb. If you really loved women and appreciated them and saw them as individuals, you would get one to sleep with you. It's really not that hard. There's lots of very unattractive and not very rich men who are getting a lot of game. You know why? They're flatterers. They tell women what they want to hear. Learn to, if you really want to spend your time blackpilling yourself, just say, women, maybe lots of them are shallow and want to hear what they want to hear. And so I'll lie to them. I don't promote that, but I'm saying it's better than deciding they need to be dead because they don't want to sleep with you. I mean, crazy idea, but change your attitude. All right. That's enough of my, but I don't think Brian is an incel. I think he's awkward, and I think he's a serial killer, perhaps, which is way worse than saying someone's an incel. Or that's what I wanted to talk about today. Did I have any more? I told you about the updates from our past crimes, and yeah, and I'm really interested to find out where the Addams family, where were they? Did they leave the 5-year-old by herself to take care of herself for like 3 nights? This is insane. So that is what I'm interested in. I will see you guys tomorrow at 9:00 for, our nightcap. Please stay safe. What can we learn? The one thing we can do, try to be sensitive and kind to people who are strange. We don't want them set off. Lock your doors. Lock your doors. Not a hard thing to do. Try to remember. Doesn't matter. It'll annoy other people, but just tell them. You never know. Protect yourselves. All right? Stay safe. I will see you all tomorrow night, 9:00. Be here or be square or, whatever. And bye. Oh, hey, like and subscribe. Thanks.